Hello, folks. How's it going? I'm Evan Saint-Gerard with Keller Williams Realty Landmark, one of your hosts. I want to introduce our panelists here. We have Dean Graber.
Hi, everybody. Dean Graber with Keller Williams also.
We have Eric Firestone.
Hi, folks. My name is Eric Firestone. I'm a real estate attorney.
And then last but not least, we have Angelo Gionis.
Hi, guys. Angelo Gionis, Freedom Mortgage, licensed loan officer.
All right. So you guys came in here. Obviously, you want to know how to buy a home in today's market. So that's what this is all about. I'm going to try and keep this in 30 minutes. So we're going to start with the beginning. What you need to know, the first thing you need to do, especially in today's market, is you need to get a pre-approval. If you want to see any home in any market, basically here in New York or anywhere basically right now, majority of the sellers, majority of the agents basically are requesting that you have a pre-approval before you can make an appointment to go see your home. The other reason why you want to get the pre-approval is so you know what you're comfortable paying, and that way you're not looking at things that are over your budget. You don't want to do too much window shopping and get your heart set up to something basically where your budget is really this. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with everything. So with that being said, you're going to meet a real estate person. You're going to sit down, do a consultation with them. That consultation is usually anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends on basically what your needs are, and that's the whole purpose of the consultation. You want to do that before you go out, spending all kinds of time and energy basically looking at things that probably might not best suit you. So that's one of the reasons why you want to do a consultation beforehand. So once you do that consultation with the agent, you're either going to do the consultation with the loan officer first and then the agent, or vice versa, or you can do a combination of both. The beautiful thing about right now at this time is basically you can do something similar to what we're doing right now. You can do it through Zoom in the comfort of your own home. You can be in your car, in your lunch break, whatever it is, basically. We can do it on the phone. We can meet face to face, 6 feet apart, obviously. Or we can, again, do it through Zoom. So once you do the consultation, you're going to meet up with loan officers. I'm going to let Angelo talk about what the process is from the mortgage side.
Thank you very much, Evan. So on the pre-approval side, it's important. What is a pre-approval and what does it consist of? We have to look at your credit. We have to review your income, and we have to review your assets. So one of the things, anytime you apply online or if you talk to a professional face-to-face, those are the three things you must do. So when we sit down and we do a consultation, the first question I would ask is, who's going on the loan? Is it one person, two people, three people? Once we determine who's going on the loan, we would have to take an application by starting with the credit. What the credit is, it consists of a credit score and lists all your debts. From there, we could determine the credit ranking, how many debts are outstanding, and then after that, we plug in the income. The income is very important because it's going to show how much buying power you have. Based off of the debts and the income, we could determine what type of purchase power you have for your home. So that's very, very important. Then the last part's the assets. What is an asset? That's the money you're going to be putting down on the property. You could put as little as 3% down all the way to buying a property cash. So both of you that we just touched base with, very briefly, you said you wanted to buy a home. So with a home, we could purchase a property with as little as 3%. But right now, there's an ultra competitive market. So I'll let the team talk about that. But with the pre-approval area, CIA approval, credit, income, asset, once we determine that, we could figure out what your payment would be, a comfortable payment for you. And then we could determine the approval. And then the best part is shopping for the home and seeing what you like.
Hey, Angelo, we just had a new person just jump in. So could you just go over basically what they need for pre-approval? Let's say I'm the buyer. Hey, Angelo, I want to buy a house. What do you need from me basically in order to get pre-approval?
So when we start the approval process, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run the credit. Very, very important. That'll determine the credit score and the outstanding debts. Then we're going to review the income. The income consists of 2 years W-2s or tax returns, 2 current pay stubs, and 2 months bank statements. Once we collect those documents, whether you're self-employed or W-2, we could determine your buying power. Once we determine your buying power with your credit and your debts, then we could figure out how much of a home can you qualify for. The last parts, which probably the most important also, is the assets. How much money can you put down? Is it available? Is it liquid? The minimum down payment on a lot of homes is 3%. But in this market environment right now, with it being a seller's market, the more money you put down, the better it is, because homes are moving very fast on the marketplace. But you can buy a house with as little as 3%.
All right, Angelo, we have a question in the Q&A. They want to know basically what loan grant programs does your company have access to grant programs?
Yeah, we have access to a lot of different grants, and one of the things we do is, let's just say after this, we set up a buyer consultation or a pre-approval. We would go over, after we review your credit, your income, and your asset, there's different criteria to different grants and down payment assistance programs available. The down payment assistance programs qualify based on the area you're buying in, your home buyer status, whether you're a first-time home buyer or not, and there's also some renovation grants available also. So in that consultation, after we're done, you'll get a great idea of how much of a house you could buy, what the payments would be, what grants I qualify for, and what down payment assistance products I qualify for. And I'm going to preface that in one way. Once we find that information out, the next thing is to go sit down with a realtor and find out what areas suit your needs and best is. And then with the buying proposal, meaning the different types of programs you have, then we would position them with the offer on the property. And I'll let the guys talk more about, in the market environment today, why is cash king and why is bigger down payment more important. But in a traditional environment, you could go 3% down and you could get a great grant and you could get money to renovate the home.
All right, so I'm going to let Dean talk right now because he's on our team. He's more of the listing agent, so he sees a lot what's going on when buyer agents such as myself come and they present offers to the listing side. So this is some information that you definitely want to have as a buyer, so you're more versed basically with what to do when it's time to put your offer in the house that you found, that you picked it. This is the one that we want. So Dean,
okay,
go ahead.
So thanks, Evans, and nice to meet everybody here. N.W.E, we just spoke before, so I'm glad that you're here too, and welcome. All right, so a couple of things. It's how you present an offer is very important these days, and how you present an offer is just how prepared you are to move forward. It's a couple of things. Well, actually, let me back up just a minute. Before you actually go out looking at homes, you should decide on the area that you want to live in for sure, the school district, whatever it is. It's very hard for us to say we don't know you, so it's hard to say like what's good, where you want to be. So you'll do a little bit of homework, research. The internet's a wonderful tool for that. You find out where you want to be. So if we just pick a town, say you want to live in Baldwin, Long Island, or Queens Village in Queens, one or the other, Queens or Nassau, whatever it's going to be. You pick the town. What type of home that you want. And then Evans and I, are the buyer's agents on our team also, would guide you through what's available in that town. And when you see a house that you like, the thing right now is there's more of you than them, meaning there's more buyers, you, than there are sellers, them. So right now, it's not always so much. A lot of times when we used to go out with buyers, they'd ask me, what will the seller take? What are they looking for? What kind of number? And it's not so much that anymore. There's all these other people that are looking at there's other people that are looking at the home also, and we don't know what they're willing to offer to the seller. And that's really what sets the market right now on houses, more so now than at other times. So you just have to be extremely prepared, which the first step is getting your mortgage approved. The next piece of the pre-approved, fully pre-approved. The next piece of the puzzle obviously is getting your attorney so that you look like you're ready to proceed type buyer.
Can I just stress one thing that you just mentioned? All right, so when you do the consultation, whether it's with us or whichever agent you decide you're going to work with, make sure you pick one agent that you feel comfortable with, You have to build your team. So I'm saying this for a reason. So you have to have a real estate agent, you have to have a loan officer, you have to have a real estate attorney, you have to have a home inspector. Have all those people picked out before you go out looking at homes. When I'm working with you as a buyer, I'm going to make sure that you have all these people in place before we go looking, because once you go out looking at homes, as Dean mentioned, and spring is here, And with spring, warmer season, that means a lot more, whatever the buyers that are out right now, is going to multiply. There's going to be a lot more people coming out basically to look at homes. So you want to make sure that you have your team in place and you're not scrambling like, I found my house. All right, so it's going to take me 3 or 4 days basically to pick an attorney, another 3 or 4 days to pick a home inspection. Guess what? While you're doing that, that home is no longer yours. It's somebody else has made an offer. And these things move very quickly. So it's very crucial that you have your team pick them beforehand and you contact whoever. If you don't have someone, ask your realtor basically and they'll give you recommendations. If you don't have someone, ask your loan officer, they'll give you recommendations. Just ask basically, somebody will point you in the right direction.
Okay, the other piece of that is it's very easy to find a home. It's a little more difficult to actually buy a home. I mean, we can all, you go on the internet, you go to different websites and there's homes, it looks like there's a lot of homes available. When you go out, you find that a lot of them aren't available. Not discouraging anybody, I'm just trying to encourage people to be very prepared with this. So you're taking the right first step. When it's time to make an offer on a house, usually if a house is on the market for under a month, under 2 weeks, it's usually asking price plus 5% right now is kind of how it's going. It's not really under asking. It's usually a little bit over asking because you're competing with other buyers that are there. Angelo said something about the 3% down now. He made a comment on that. The reason is have to, watch out for how much you're putting down is because sometimes we're buying houses now and the appraiser is looking back 3 or 4 months for an appraisal and they have yesterday's price, not today's price. So you might, have to be prepared to cover a little bit over asking. Sometimes it depends. And Evantz and I and our buyer's agents on our team would let you know that in advance, what kind of, what the house will appraise for. Obviously it's worth what you're willing to pay and what they're willing to sell for it. What other buyers are willing to pay and the seller's willing to sell is what it's worth. That's the value. But if it is more than other homes have sold 30, 60, 90 days ago, we'll let you know that. Just looking at comparables and closed sales, we'll let you know where the appraisal is most likely going to land because we really kind of have a good handle on that other than maybe 1% difference or 2%. We'll be right there with that. The other step also is getting into contract and having the contract negotiated well. And that's where Eric, are you here? You're hiding?
Yes. Sorry, my phone, my camera went off. I'm back.
All right. So basically,
turn this to Eric.
So now that you found the home that you like, you put in an offer, it got accepted, you did your home inspection. At this point, you're going to reach out to your real estate attorney, and Eric, who's the real estate attorney, is going to explain to you what the process is from his vantage point.
Okay, so from my vantage point, how you doing, everyone? I'm Eric Firestone, if you didn't hear me introduce myself already. And so from my standpoint, you should be reaching out and getting your attorney before that. You should have it all lined up so that when you do your home inspection, everything's good. You're going to basically send the home inspection over to me so I can review it and review the contract, make sure everything is good. So my main job in a real estate transaction for a buyer is to represent your legal interests and to make sure that you're getting everything you're supposed to get as per the terms of the contract, and that you understand everything regarding your mortgage so that the entire process is made easier for you and to protect your legal interests, of course. So initially what we do is we discuss the home inspection. We make sure that we make a list of the things you might want or might want to negotiate with the seller's attorney. Once all that's resolved, then we go to contract. I basically review the contract. The seller's attorney drafts the contract. I review it, add some changes, some additions, depending on what it is, and make sure that the contract is as much in your favor as could possibly be. Once that's negotiated with the seller's attorney and everything's worked out, we get together either via Zoom or over the phone, via DocuSign or in person, and we review the contract. Make sure that you understand all the terms and conditions. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. Make sure you understand the various timelines. Make sure you understand when we're planning to close, and also to give comments on your end to make sure that the terms and conditions suit you and your needs. All right. Then you're going to sign. You're going to put down your down payment. Your down payment can be anywhere from 3.5%, if that's what you're doing, up to 10% or anywhere in between. And we can discuss that as well. You put down your down payment, it's sent to the seller's attorney, they sign, the seller sign. And then once the seller signs and we get the contract back, we are officially in contract. And that's when everything begins for you in terms of applying for your mortgage, making sure you get your mortgage approval. And my job is to order title and make sure that you have clean title to the property, which means no liens, no encumbrances, no violations. That's my job, to make sure that when you get to the closing table, you have a title policy that says you have clean title to this property, free of violations, free of everything. So, and once that's clear, and once you get your mortgage, about 60 to 90 days into the process, we'll go to closing, assuming everything works out and there are no issues with your mortgage, no issues with title. Once we go to closing, my job is to sit with you, go over all of the terms of your mortgage, explain all the documents, make sure you've brought the right amount of money to closing, make sure you get your deed, make sure that you get all copies of everything you sign, and make sure you get the keys to your new home. It sounds very simple and easy. Sometimes it is. My job is to hold your hand and make sure that it's as simple and as easy as possible.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Eric. I
just want to throw in something. The process actually, I'd like to make it sound simple, just because it really is simple, as long as we just all follow like what it is. So again, the order is you guys get pre-approved, and it's not just to have that document, that certificate or letter for the seller. It's so you know what your payments are. I mean, there'd be nothing worse than buying a house for $550,000. You are so sure that you qualify, it's no problem. And then we go through this whole thing, and you go through the process, and then you find out, oh my God, it's $3,800 a month. I thought it was 20. You know, you just don't want that to happen. I only say that because it actually has happened. So everything that's happened to other people, we can also be cautious with new people, to let them know, hey, this has happened in the past. Don't let this happen to you. So, but it's simple. Find out what the payments are, what you qualified for.
And the important part is also, if I may add, is talking about team, putting a team together. If you have a team that's working together, then there's much less of a chance that you're going to get to the closing table and say, my God, my payment is $800 more a month than I thought it was, because I'm in touch with Angelo. I'm in touch with Dean. They're in touch with me. We're all working together to make sure that the process is streamlined and smooth and simple. So that's why having a team that works together well is so important for you as the purchaser.
I can't preface that enough. Basically, you as the buyer, you have to do your homework as well. Look up everybody who you plan to work with. Obviously, everybody here on this panel, basically, they're top line in their jobs and what they do. And I've been working in this field basically for about 8 to 9 years. Dean, you've been in the business for how many years?
In real estate for 10 years, and mortgage business before that for way too long.
All right. Angelo, you've been in the business for how many years?
For about 24 years now.
All right. And then Eric?
I got Angelo beat by 1 year, 25.
All right. So you have all these years of experience basically here to use to your benefit. So,
well, I just sounded like the baby in the crowd after that one.
Right.
You are the baby in the crowd, yeah.
But you want to tap into all this knowledge that you're getting. Basically, you have questions. Do not be afraid to ask. We can't help you unless you ask the questions, basically, and you have to put everything on the table so we know exactly how to. There might be a situation that you might be embarrassed to talk about. We're not here to judge you. We're here to help you. So basically, just put everything on the table and let's work it out. And we can probably get you some solutions. Basically, hey, you know what? Don't be ashamed to buy this. We can do this, and this. And you never know. The other thing I want to say is basically when the contract is being written up, when you're doing that whole process, before the contract, that point in between the home inspection, once you're going back and forth with the home inspection, you have to remember basically the house is still available until contract is signed by you, the buyer, and the seller. That house is still available to anybody else. So I have to stress how important it is when you build your team. You have to move quickly, basically. So you look at every item basically that we need to talk about. All right, so we have issues on this. We got to talk about this. Get it over to the attorney as soon as possible, and then they send it over to the other side. So communication is very important in this process as well. So the bank is going to be asking for a lot of paperwork. As I mentioned before, communication is very important. That being said, Angelo, you want to talk about basically, all right, now that the contract is out, they're going to apply for their mortgage?
Yeah. So before you're applying for the mortgage with me, we already had our consultation. So that's very important. And as a first-time home buyer, I say this, and I'm just reiterating what Evan said. No question is a dumb question because it's your first time going through this process. So any question you may have, I'm here to sit down, answer them. I'm here to give you professional advice on what the programs are, what the benefits are, and really what the payments and differences are, the options you have. Once we review all those options, we're going to determine how much you qualify for. And just because you qualify for a $5,000 mortgage payment, that doesn't mean you want a $5,000 mortgage payment. We have to figure out a number that works well for you. And what we do is we like to sit down and talk about a lifestyle budget too, because when I qualify you as a mortgage lender, I don't take into account some things. What are some of those things? I don't take into account how much money you spend on food. I don't take into account how much money you spend on entertainment. I don't take into account how much money you spend on gas. I don't take it into account how much money you spend in daycare and all other things. So really at the end of the day, a lifestyle budget, so we could figure out, even though I'm approved for, let's just say $5,000, maybe $3,500 is better for me. Maybe $4,000 are better for me. Then we also talk about who's going on the loan. Maybe we just have one party on the loan, but another person contributes. So then that means we could go to a higher end of the platform on your pre-approval. So once you're done with me, you're going to know for sure what you're qualified for. Now, the one thing is, since Queens Village and Baldwin, we're going to use those two, is in a Queens and Long Island setting, I usually issue 2 pre-approvals. I use a Queens approval that usually has a higher loan amount because the taxes are lower. And I give a lower loan approval on the island because the taxes are usually higher. That means the taxes on the property. So every question we're going to answer, everything along the way, you're going to understand what the payments are and what the benefits are. And then the last thing is, there was one question in the chat about NACA.
Yes.
We work all different types of loan grant programs. NACA is a great program, but some of the programs, it takes time to pass, and it takes time to get the certificate, and it takes time to get the money. So if you went through the NACA process and you have that ready, that's great. But a lot of times what happens is I sit down with a lot of clients that are in the middle of that process, but you can't make an offer on a property and say, well, my grant's coming in the next 3 months, let's buy the house. The seller won't take that. So the good thing at Freedom Mortgage, we have a lot of grant programs available day of. So when we sit down with you, we could actually say, these are the options for you right away. Let's see if we could take advantage of it. Guys, can you talk about the pros and cons about putting less money down and getting a grant as opposed to putting more money down? If you're the listing agent, why is more money better than less money? Can you explain that dynamic?
All right, I'm going to start. So basically,
right now.
It's a competitive market, and the seller is looking at a lot of offers, and you have to make yourself look the best possible offer possible to the seller. And the seller basically wants to see pretty much everything. Dean, you can finish.
All right. So I wanted to say, if you have more money down also, Angelo, maybe you can back me up on this. If you were doing a conventional loan with 10% down, just for argument's sake, yet the property appraised $10,000 or $15,000 less than your agreed to price, because again, what I had said a minute ago, we're all creating this market right now by what everyone's bidding on a home. The appraiser's looking back 30, 60, 90 days at what was last December. And appraisal might be a little bit of an issue. So if you were putting down 10% and it appraised a little bit light, you would still be able to get that conventional loan at, let's say, 95% financing. Angelo, if you can, I don't know if I'm going to, I understand what it is in my mind. I don't know if I'm going to say it in a way that's clear to people. It won't change their down payment. It won't change their payment. It won't actually change anything. Maybe a few dollars on their mortgage insurance.
Yeah. But what the term is flexibility, right? And right now in this market, you want to have that flexibility. So if you were going in saying, hey, the only thing I could do is 3.5%, which is fine. But in a competitive market, like Dean's saying, if the property underappraises slightly, you can't buy that home because you have no flexibility. So that's why sometimes I speak to my clients, do you have 5 or 10% down? just in case. So it's good for the seller to know that, because just in case the property doesn't appraise, not that the value is not there, it's just that the market's taking where, the appraisals left off, because the appraisals will look back. It gives them more flexibility and it makes your offer look stronger. And what we're trying to do as a team is make your offer look as strong as possible, so they'll pick you from the many offers they have.
Yeah.
All right. Did anybody want to add anything else onto that?
Eric, you have that from the legal side, like with limited appraisal contingencies now?
I mean, what we do is, it's a very competitive market. What I've been seeing recently is you have multiple offers on a property, and for a buyer to distinguish themselves from the other buyers, quite often they're going in and they're saying, okay, we're going to go in with a mortgage contingency, but no appraisal contingency, or a modified appraisal contingency, which means if you agree that if the property appraises for 5,000 less or 10,000 less, you're agreeing as a purchaser that you'll be able to make up the difference in the remaining down payment, because you're not going to get the same loan amount, because the bank's only going to lend you money based upon the appraised value. So if you can come up with the difference, that's going to make it a lot more appealing to a seller than a buyer that says that they're strapped at the 3% or 5% or whatever it is. If you have more flexibility to put down more money on a low appraisal, that makes you far more attractive to a seller.
All right. And this is actually the first time we're talking about that on one of these meetings like this. So it's from the mortgage, the legal, and the real estate perspective. So it's just a reality of the market today. And again, this is why as you're buying a home, you want to be guided through this process, so that you know that you can finish and get what you can finish what you started, and you can get what you want, just with a clear understanding of what's going on right now.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up slightly. Just want to go over basically the process. So you got the clear to close basically from the bank. That's Angelo's department. Basically, he's going to let you know that you got to clear to close, which is you, the buyer. You want to hear that. And then at some point, Eric's going to get involved, basically find out when the closing date is with you, the buyer, the attorneys, the other attorneys involved, and the seller. Basically, you're going to figure out a date. The closing is going to take place at either your attorney's office, the other attorney's office, or the bank attorney, depending on who's involved. Once that's done, Eric, how long would you expect basically to be at a closing? What's your average?
The average these days is somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, depending on the lender, depending on how quickly the bank attorney is moving, how quickly, there's a lot of factors, but I would say on average, an hour and a half to 2 hours. In terms of budgeting, a lot of people need to leave, pick up their kids from daycare, whatnot. There's a lot of other concerns besides going to the closing. I always tell people to allocate 2 hours for a closing. If it ends up being less, that's great.
All right. And then how much paperwork does the buyer have to sign?
Well, the buyer, get your pens ready and get your hand ready, because there's a lot of paperwork to sign. There's a lot of documents to sign. The note, the mortgage, all the other bank documents, the title documents, the transfer documents. There is probably more signing to do in that 2 hour period than you've ever done in your life up to that point in one single sitting. So, but I'm there to simplify it for you, to explain what you're signing, and just to make sure that the anxiety of having to sign 60 documents is reduced by the fact that you understand what you're signing. And even if your signature does not bear any resemblance at the end to what it did at the beginning, that's okay too.
All right. So when you get all this, the paperwork, you sign everything, like Eric said, he's going to explain everything to you. You're going to get a copy of everything that you signed also. Once the paperwork is done, usually they have to wait for the bank for the checks to clear. Let's go back a little. Basically, what do they need to bring to the closing besides the two pieces of ID for the husband, wife, or whatever the combination is?
Right. So basically what happens is when we schedule the closing, we're going to reach out to you in the day or two before to let you know how much money you have to bring. So you may have put 3.5% down, 3% down, but you have your closing costs. You may have to bring a balance to the seller. So we will wait for the bank or the lender's attorney to send us your net available proceeds from your loan. We take that, we do adjustments with the seller for taxes and other things, and then we let you know exactly how much you need to bring. So which means an official bank check. So you're going to have to go to your bank, get an official bank check for the amount that we tell you. You're also going to bring your checkbook for other expenses that you have and your photo ID. Those are the three things you need to bring. Official bank check, we let you know how much, your personal checkbook to write out checks as needed at closing, and also your photo ID.
Okay. So you're going to get a CD. The CD is, Angelo, when is the CD sent out?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say. The CD is sent out at least 3 days before the closing. So all those 60 pages that you're going to get and sign, you actually have the ability to take a look at most of them online.
So it's a breakdown basically of what you'll be signing, a breakdown basically of what you're spending.
What you're spending, what the closing cost is, what's the final payment, what's the locked-in interest rate, all that stuff. And the one thing, I just want to just bring us back one sec because we have some new people on the call. When we sit down for a pre-approval, that approval process takes about 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to go through your credit, your income, your assets, everything that you need to know, every question you need to know. Communication and understanding is what we say. So when you sit down with a lender, make sure they're giving you the time you need in the beginning so we get all that information and everything in the front so we're not chasing it down the line. So by the time we get to the closing, your first day you sat with me, you understand pretty much everything, and you're just smiling ear to ear the day you're signing.
All right. Now, before the closing, we forgot to mention one thing. You do have to do a walkthrough. It is suggested basically the walkthrough is done either the night before the closing or the morning of. It really depends on what your schedule is, what the seller's schedule is. Now, the purpose of the walkthrough, Dean, I'll let you explain the purpose of the walkthrough.
Okay, the walkthrough is just to make sure that the house that you bought is that when you went to contract and saw the home is the house that you're getting. If there was anything to be fixed in the house, if there was a broken window, we're going to check that the window's not broken. If the house is supposed to be delivered broom clean and vacant, just ready for you to move into, we want to make sure that there's no, trash or anything that's left over in the house or anything like that. We'll check stuff. We'll check the outlets. We'll check the sinks. We'll check all the obvious things, the air conditioner, the dishwasher, the stove, make sure the gas is on.
We actually have videos for all that stuff through the walkthrough, all the things to check.
We'll get you through that whole process. But again, the idea is to just make sure the house that you're getting the key to this day or in a couple of days, whatever's agreed to, is the house that you anticipated. And
if there is any issues, basically, you're going to let your attorney, Eric, know before the closing, hey, we just did the walkthrough. Here's a couple of issues, or hey, Eric, there were no issues at the walkthrough. I'm happy with everything. And then Eric will explain everything else to you. And then you go to the closing. Like Eric said, basically expect about an hour and a half to maybe about 2 hours. The longest part is basically signing the paperwork, and then you have to wait for the checks to clear, as Eric had mentioned. Once those checks clear, Eric's going to get the checks, and you want to talk about the checks, Eric?
Yeah, so basically what happens is at the end of the process, once so the bank reviews, the bank attorney has to review all the documents you sign, make sure they were signed correctly, and then we submit a checklist to the lender. So the seller, they're getting all the money at closing, but we have to determine, the seller tells us how they want their money spent. So they may say, okay, we want our mortgage paid off. We want our brokers paid. We want this paid, that paid, whatever it is, and then the balance to us. So we wait for the lender then to produce the checks. Sometimes the bank attorney comes to the closing with checks. Sometimes they have to write the checks there, or they have to go out to the bank and get checks, do wires. So the time is spent doing that, waiting for the lender to come with the checks. And then you give over your check, your balance check to the seller. And then the seller would presumably give you the keys. And you're going to get from me a couple of copies of your deed. Your original is going to be recorded. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get it back in the mail, but you can use the copy to do all the things you need to do, turn on your utilities, apply for schools, Do all the things you need with the copy of the deed. You'll get your title policy, your insurance policy, which I'll explain in detail at the closing, and copies of everything that you signed, and a closing statement from me. So you're going to get a whole bunch of documents, and we're going to go through them all at the end, let you know what you have, why you have it, what you need to keep, and what you may not need to keep. And that's about it.
All right. So now that you have your keys, you have your keys to your new home. You're going to have all the documents that Eric mentioned. What I usually tell the buyers to do after they get the keys, obviously, I usually tell them when you go to the house, whatever the time frame is, whether you're going after the closing or a couple of days after the closing, you're going to go to the home. You're going to change the locks. You have your keys. You're going to change the locks. The documents that you got, I would always suggest scan every single one of those items. Put them in the cloud somewhere. If you're a husband and wife team, brother, sister, whatever the combination is, basically make copies of these documents and just make sure everybody who's a decision maker has access to those documents. So whenever you need them, God forbid there's a fire, you always have them somewhere on the cloud. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna open it up to everybody let me just allow everybody to talk. All right, so I'm opening it up to everybody, so you guys are free. If you have any specific questions you want to ask any one of the panelists, Nori, Patricia, Ruth, Vivian, you can turn your mics on.
I just wanted to know, how soon can we, I guess, start sending over the documents to get the ball rolling?
Which documents you're talking about for the pre-approval?
Yes.
I could. So, I mean, literally, we could set up an online application tonight or tomorrow, and we could request those documents, forward them, or upload them to our portal, and we could literally approve tonight. That's how quick it is.
Okay.
All right, and then Angelo, I can share you with Norby's. Norby, is it all right if I get Angelo your information also?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Nori. Anybody, Vivian, do you have any other questions? You had a question regarding NACA.
No, I don't have anything right now.
Okay. Are you currently in NACA? Are you finished?
No, I actually have an appointment with them.
Okay.
17, but I haven't done anything.
Okay. All right. How about Ruth and Patricia? Either one of you have any questions? You got to take yourselves off mute.
No questions.
No questions, Ruth? Ruth, are you looking to buy? What are you looking to do?
Well, I was looking to purchase.
Okay. You said was. Are you still interested in buying or?
Well, I'm going to have to think about it because I'm really taking note to the market now where you're saying it's the seller's market. So I just wanted to think about it a bit. That could be very complicated and challenging.
Well, they're saying they just said something this morning in NAR basically. If you can buy now, buy now.
What's NAR?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, basically because NAR is a National Association of Realtors.
Thank you.
So they're saying basically if you can buy now, buy now. Do not wait because basically the same amount of people who are thinking about buying, they might be thinking the same thing you are and they want to wait later on. But you never know with the interest rates where they are right now. They're forecast to possibly go up, and I think they are creeping up.
Is that Ruth that said that?
Yes.
All right, so Ruth, my 2 cents on it, not that anyone particularly asked, but I'm just saying on this, whenever you're ready to do it. If you are ready to buy a house and want to buy a house now, you can explore that, very closely. If you're not, then you wait till the timing is right. It's hard to time this stuff. The best that we can do, like I said, is just make you the best possible buyer at the time, that you can be in the best possible light to a seller. And again, what that means to you, I don't know, because I don't know.
Gotcha. Right.
Ruth, as just to throw my 2 cents in, one of the things I'm concerned about is that if you're trying to time the whole thing, interest rates are very low right now, and historically low. And the longer you wait, if you're waiting for a buyer's market, perhaps rates go up and you can afford less. So if you buy now, and the rates are low, and you could probably get more for your money now in terms of the interest rates. Dive in.
I'm glad you brought that up. Angelo, could you talk about the interest rates, basically how much you can afford now as opposed to later on, let's say at the end of the year or next year?
Just things to pop. Ruth, just a York last year, you would be up almost 9%. So the house is appreciated almost 9% in 1 year. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Number two is the interest rates are still at relatively low levels, not all-time low, but the rates went from being in the mid twos to roughly 3%. Okay, to 3.15. So they slightly ticked up, but they're still very. So let's just say wait that year and house values come down a little bit, the market cools. If the rates move up 1%, you basically defeated the purpose. Payment's still going to be higher. So with rates low, it gives you more flexibility. And we're not looking to scare you with the market, but we're really looking to tell you how the market is right now. It's very competitive. What we're trying to say is there's a lot of homes still on the market, but some of the houses where you see 10, 20, 30 people at an open house, I think you're going to know it's going to be very competitive and it's going to go over ask. Sometimes if you're a little more flexible and you're willing to put a little work into the house, you may be able to still get great values with houses that have been on the market 30 or 45 days. And that's where you gems. And one of the things we could talk about is we do have renovation pieces to the loans. We do have different things where if a house isn't in, let's just say, mint condition, you could buy it is 1.5%, and we could give you some money to renovate it. So I think the best thing to do is get pre-approved to know what you're buying power. Work with a real estate team that could show you those properties. Work with an attorney that could protect your interests, but then go out and enjoy the process. Don't act foolishly. Act very smart, swiftly if you like something. That's what we're trying to say at this Zoom meeting today.
Gotcha.
Right. Ruth,
thank you.
You're welcome, Ruth. Any other questions, Ruth?
No, that'd be it. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. Patricia, how about yourself? You have any questions? Patricia, if you could take yourself off mute.
Vivian?
Okay, Vivian, how about yourself? Do you have any other questions? No, actually, we spoke to Vivian. Vivian, did you have any?
No, I don't have any other questions.
All right, so we're just waiting for Patricia, basically. Patricia, you're our last person, so.
All right, she's muted. It's okay.
All right. So that's about
it. That guy.
All right, I'm not going to be that guy today. All right, so guys, we hope we gave you this Zoom gave you a lot of value. The next step is yours. Basically, when you're ready to do something, reach out to all of us, any of us, basically, and schedule an appointment, and then we'll walk you through the process. You'll be getting an email, basically, with a buyer's guide. The things to expect basically through the process. But like I said, we have videos and things. But if you want to do a one-on-one consultation, I can send you my link to Calendly, and you can schedule an appointment basically with any one of us.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you. Well, I should say, guys, thank you, ladies, basically for for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelo, Evans.
All right. Have a nice day, guys.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
All right.
Bye.
All right. We want to thank everybody for watching, all the participants, the panelists, and the attendees. If you have any questions about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, do not hesitate. Give us a call. Contact us. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Any questions about anything, never hesitate. Give us a call. Have a great day.